But it was interesting in the last week, the kind of Willie Haughey Lord Haughey came back out again with his season ticket alliance trust ideas. And he's brought in Paul McStay as the ambassador for this, which is interesting. I mean, Paul's not a guy who's been in the limelight for years, and I've spoken to him a few times over the years, and he's a pretty quiet, almost kind of shy guy. For somebody who's, I mean, a complete utter legend of the club. He's not a particularly vocal kind of guy. So it's interesting him putting his head over the parapet and backing this. Especially how it could be seen as a kind of move against the current board a wee bit. I don't think it is that. I think that's maybe why some punters are kind of not quite getting too excited, because the ambition is to get, 56,000 season ticket holders to sign up for this, and Lord Haughey will put in his 2 million per 10,000 and get 10 million shares, which might get them 5 or 6%, which could get somebody representative from the support on the board, which is, I think, would be a positive for everyone concerned. But it's probably not enough for the ones with the pitchforks and wanting wide scale changes and wanting a change of regime. They want David Desmond to go and all these things. So for this, it doesn't sound ambitious enough for them. It sounds good, sounds pretty solid to me. But are you surprised about Paul kind of getting involved, or think he can make an impact on this? Does that legitimise this? Does it will it help it get up and running? How do you see this kind of Willie Haughey led movement unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at it, Celtic fans have been crying out for a voice at boardroom level for years, and I think this could be a genuine way in. You know, I think they've been campaigning, the Celtic fans collective, for a fan advisory board as well. I just think there's been so much anger and discontent this season. It's very much, you kind of touched on it there, it's a very much like kind of us v them mentality between the fans and the hierarchy. You know, it's been a club that's been engulfed in a civil war for the last 12 months. You know, one extreme stands to the other. For me, it's very much a broken club at the minute in terms of the disharmony. I've never seen disharmony like it in all my years kind of covering Celtic. So, you know, I think the big thing for me, the season ticket renewal campaign is due to launch any day now. You know, and I suspect, my major suspicion is that I think Celtic will announce their plans for restructuring. You know, I think in the background they've been working on it. Brian Wilson's kind of alluded to it in his previous statements and Celtic TV interviews, that there will be a kind of major statement forthcoming, and I think that will tie in with the season ticket renewals coming out, because we all know how important that season tickets are to Celtic. They pretty much that is the lifeblood of Celtic, as the fans, and the season ticket money that comes in. It's tens of millions of pounds. So I know that obviously there's a Celtic fans collective are campaigning for, until the final day. They're asking fans to delay renewing and to send a message to the board as they campaign for restructuring. You know, Tom Allison, he'd been on the board for decades, and I know he's just recently retired. That was announced last year. So I think that's like, you know, I think that's a signal of things to come. And just on the season ticket alliance, you know, I think it's 54,000 season ticket holders Celtic have got. So if you get 54,000 fans behind that alliance, and like you say, Willie Haughey's pumping in 2 million for every 10,000. I mean, that's potential for £10 million being converted into shares. And if the fans are being signed out for a voice in the boardroom, then that's the way to do it. And Willie Haughey, you know, he's such, you know, we all know who Willie Haughey is. He's a lifelong fan, multi-millionaire, hugely successful businessman, hugely respected. And I think we talk about Paul McStay as well. You know, we have a legendary figure like Paul McStay, who's the poster boy for the campaign, and I think it does carry, you know, I think it could work. I think it does add a bit of legitimacy to the campaign. And you need to remember as well, the Celtic season ticket holders aren't actually being asked to put any money in either. It's Willie Haughey's putting all the money in. They just need to sign up and back it. So I think it's a well thought out campaign. I don't think it is anti-board. I think it's just about getting a fan representation onto the board. And you know, I think for me, Celtic are a real crucial period in the club's history at the minute. I think this summer could decide or shape the trajectory this club's going to go in over the next 5 years. And I think everybody will probably agree that Celtic and Dyer need a modernisation from top to bottom. I think that's abundantly clear. And they need representation from the fans, the lifeblood, to help really play a part in that and build a modern club for the future that fans can be proud of and actually see Celtic reach their potential. Not just domestically, we all know they've dominated domestically, but in Europe, that's where they've really come up short. And I think if we're going to restore unity, I think this is the first step in doing so. And I think it's a campaign that could work.
Yeah, I mean, getting somebody on a fan representation on the board is all very well and good, but I still get the feeling that with Dermot Desmond, it could be the old line about I listened to all the opinions and then we all agreed I was right. I don't think. I don't know if it would make up line, but a difference. And by the way, there already is. There already are Celtic fans on the board at Celtic. I mean, nobody can't say that likes of Michael Nicholson and Brian Wilson. They're big Celtic fans as well as holding important positions. I think I suspect Willie Haughey's move is I think it's a positive step, but could also be a bit of a Trojan horse as well. I think there's a lot of kind of well-to-do Celtic fans in the background as well who have got expertise in business and all these things, and they look at the way the club's been run just now and think, that's not how I run my business. I mean, sitting in the summer with £77 million in the bank, that's a time when you have to be aggressive and expanding your business, not contracting and protecting, because that's what's invited the problems. And I think there's some smart business minds behind there, and Willie Haughey is one of them, and he's got plenty of pals that are very smart as well. And I think some new blood on the non-executive board and on the executive board at Celtic would be beneficial, because it has stagnated, it has stalled, things have got a bit too cosy, and it needs a bit of fresh blood to give it a bit of a jolt. Having a fan representation would be a help as well, but I think having smart business minds on there is more important. I think the club could do with a wee bit of a kind of jump start again to get the wheels turning, because I think the chance. Listen, they have done things I mean, they've invested in infrastructure, they've spent money on Barrowfield and a few other things. They have spent money in the squad, just in the wrong areas and wrong kind of players sometimes. But I do think I just think that the chance last summer was there. They got to the knockout stage in Champions League. There was money in the bank. That was the time to put the foot in the gas and expand the business. Whether that meant investing heavily in the team to make sure the Champions League was a given again, or whether it was to ramp up Celtic Park and put another stand up or something like that. It would also increase revenue down the line as well. Something had to be done to kind of drive the business forward. It didn't happen. And I think there's a lot of business minds alongside Willie Haughey who know that as well. So it's interesting to see how it develops. I think it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take for a long time, I think, to kind of build up a head of steam. But I think there will be moves made. Like you say, they'll wait and see how Celtic come back. And Brian Wilson said there's going to be changes, and they are looking at it. I know they've had independent companies looking at it as well and analysing how they operate. So it will be interesting to see what they need to come up with a structure for these season tickets renewals. They'll need to say, right, here's the plan, here's what we want to get to, here's the kind of 3, 5, 10-year picture we want to paint here, because that's been lacking, and it has to happen at some point, because fans need to be won back over again. Because at the moment, like you say, there's a disconnect. They keep paying their money, they want to see where it's going and what the plan is. So anyway, I suppose that's for another day. That's going to go on for a long time. I suspect once the season finishes, that will come right back into focus.